Can you explain what impact a 50 gigaton release of methane would have on the atmosphere, and what the effects would be for life on Earth, and in particular, humanity?
Well, we modelled in a paper to Nature, we modelled the effect of a 50 gigaton release, and you convert the methane into the carbon dioxide equivalent effect and look at what that does to global temperatures. And it turned out that the global temperatures are increased by about a maximum of about 6.6 of a degree, and that's achieved within 20 years of the original emission. We assume the emission takes place over 10 years, that 20 years after the emission starts, the temperature has risen 0.6 of a degree, and that's a pretty substantial addition to global warming.
Is there research to show we're on course for such a large release of methane? And if the answer is yes, how solid do you think that research is?
Well, the solid research that shows that releases are happening, and the work that this Russian-US group from University of Alaska and the Pacific Oceanographic Lab has been doing every summer in the East Siberian Sea is showing that each year you're seeing more and more methane emissions from the seabed, which are reaching the surface because the water's very shallow, about 70 meters deep. And so we've seen lots of photos and film and data from them showing these emissions, and we're going to be joining in with them next year in that work. So there's solid evidence of seabed emissions of methane from the shallow shelves. There's also solid evidence of methane emissions from deeper water off Spitsbergen, but there the methane has time to dissolve in the water on its way up, so it's not directly released into the atmosphere, whereas the methane on these shallow shelves is. So that's pretty solid. The question of quantity is the more difficult question, because looking at the present rates of emission and looking at the methane hydrate content of sediments is what enables you to estimate how much methane is going to be released from a further melting of sediments or due to the warmer water. And that estimate, at the moment we have to rely on Shakova and Semiletov, who've been doing that work, and they have then expert knowledge of the seabed conditions, and they're the ones who are estimating the 50 gigatons. So that could be revised up or down if further work is done in that area.
And do you think civilization could survive a 50 gigaton release of methane?
No, I don't think it can. I think that if you look at the existing predictions of global warming rates, what's kind of eerie is the fact that the business as usual projections, even the cautious ones produced by IPCC, are still giving us about 4 degrees of warming by the end of the century, and with 2 degrees has been taken arbitrarily as the level beyond which nasty things happen. I don't know why it's 2 degrees, but that will be reached by the middle of the century, and 4 degrees by the end of the century. Now, 4 degrees, people who've calculated what that would do to food production, to die-off of forests, to acceleration of warming due to various extra feedbacks that kick in, that the general conclusion is pretty dire, that if you get to 4 degrees of warming, then collapse of civilization is what's going to happen, because the world won't be able to sustain anywhere near its present population. So the result will be chaos and warfare. So that's just that. The eerie thing is that that's predicted by the IPCC report, but the projection of warming by the end of the century is 4 degrees. But nowhere do they state at all that 4 degrees is a catastrophe economically and socially for the planet. And now with this Arctic methane, you're simply adding another element to the warming, even if it's only an extra 0.6. That brings forward the date at which catastrophic warming is achieved by maybe 20 years. So we're going to get into a state where the warming rate is giving us something that will cause society to break down, and we're going to get to that state quicker because of offshore emissions of methane than would be the case otherwise.